Hello, here we are again. Glad everybody is here. We are continuing on CVP analysis, chapter 21. Hey, I discovered something with these videos that is, one thing is kind of helpful and the other thing is just kind of amusing. But if you show the computer, and you're going to actually hear me talking about me, which of these is low? Okay, there's a video that we're showing. Now, one thing that's kind of nice is if you go to, now, not all browsers have this, but if you go to the settings on the speed, and if I'm talking too slow for you, I just set it on 1.5, and it's December. And which of these is our high? November. Okay, good. Okay. Right. So we are going to use both the X and the Y, or the high and the low. Okay, because some people say I talk too slow on these videos, and so they can speed me up. Or perhaps as well, if you want to listen again after you've listened once, but you want it to be a little quicker, you can do that as well. Now, one thing that my teenage sons discovered last night, and they had great fun with this, was if you go to the settings and you switch it to half speed, it sounds and appears like have drank to excess, like I'm totally intoxicated. So if you put it on half speed, maybe that'll make it more interesting if they're ever boring. I'll give you a little preview though. It's quite entertaining. Exercise 21.5, 21.9, 21.10, 21.11. Make sure you guys are working on these. It gets better. Okay. This is where it gets good, if you see the computer screen. Okay. So, all right. Okay. I thought you would enjoy that. My teenage sons had great time with that. So if you ever want to liven up the videos, just change the speeds. And I can be in whatever mood that you would like me to be in that day. All right? That being said, let's go ahead and go to going over the homework. Okay, now I hope you guys did your homework. You got to do your homework in this chapter. This is such an important chapter. All right? So let's take a look at exercise 21.5. Thank you. Exercise 21.5. Okay, let me go ahead and put that up there in case you don't have your book. Very top one. Bloom Company Management predicts that it will incur fixed costs of $160,000 and earn pre-tax income of $164,000 in the next period. Its expected contribution margin ratio is 25%. Use this information to compute the amount of total dollar sales and total variable costs. Okay, I do these a little differently than actually what the solution manual says. And here's what I always advise is go ahead and just give the format. Let me back up a little bit. Sales minus variable costs equals contribution margin minus your fixed costs equals net income. Is that correct? Okay. And then we do this on a total basis. Okay. And then I always like to put in the per units as well. Okay? Now, whenever they give you a problem, if you're not quite sure what to do, just start putting in the information that you do know. Okay? Just start putting in the information that you do know. So let's take a look here. All right? Okay, Bloom Company predicts it will incur fixed costs of $160,000. So let's go ahead and write that. Okay, try to get my shadow off of there. And earn pre-tax income of $164,000. Okay, Well, if we know this and we know this, something minus 160 equals 164, correct? And that would be 324? Okay. Let's see. Our expected contribution margin ratio is 25%. Okay? So this is 25% of some number. Agreed? This is 25% of some number. Okay? So, what is 324,000 times 4? What is that?
1,296,000.
1296?
Yep.
25% times that equals 324, right? So, what are our variable costs? Knowing that this minus something equals 324.
972,000.
Okay, 972,000. Cool? All right. Now, let's see. I'm not sure if we can figure out our per units or not. I don't think we can, but I don't think we need to, do we? They don't ask that. So they asked for total dollar sales, and they asked for total variable costs. Okay? Now, like I said, they do these differently than I do, but I think it is a lot easier just to start filling in the sheet, the income statement. Okay? I'll show you how they did it. They did it like this. Okay? And I haven't even taught you all of that yet. So, but I think it's just easier to start putting in what you know, think of it as a puzzle, start figuring out what you need to. Okay? Questions on that one? Okay, let's do exercise 2110. Exercise 2110. All right? And we're going to actually do exercise 2110, 2111, and 2112. Is that right? Okay. So let me go ahead and lay those up there. Okay. Okay, we're going to do these three, right? Okay. Blanchard Company manufactures a single product that sells for $180 per unit and whose total variable costs are $135 per unit. The company's annual fixed costs are $562,500. Use this information to compute the company's contribution margin ratio, the break-even in units, and the break-even in sales. Now, this should be really easy at this point, okay? If you didn't know how to do this, then you are a little bit behind, okay? There's not even a whole lot I can say about the answers. I just give them to you, okay? The contribution margin per unit is $45. The CM ratio is the 45 divided by the sales price per unit of 180 equals 25%. The break-even in units is 12,500 units. And the break-even in dollars is the fixed cost divided by the CM ratio, 2.25 million. Now you can always check this answer by taking your break-even that you calculated in units of 12,500 in this case times the sales price per unit of 180, and that equals 2.25 million. All right, so you can kind of double check your answer. Make sense? Okay. Any questions on 2110? Okay, what did 2111 want us to do? They want us to make a CVP chart? All right. Well, let's take a look. 2111, refer to the information, prepare a CVP chart. Okay, let's take a look at that. Okay, do the Dave Krug 3-plot point method. The Dave Krug 3-plot point method. What is the Dave Krug 3-plot point method? Well, what you do, first of all, you have to calculate first your break even in both units and in sales dollars. You got to do that first. You have to do that first. Okay? Then what you do is you put one plot point right there on the corner. You put the other plot point on the y-axis at whatever the fixed costs are. Okay, the fixed costs are $562,500. They could have done a little bit better scaling on this graph, but That's 562,500. So you put a plot point there, go up the y-axis, put a plot point on the fixed costs, whatever they are for the particular example, and then you graph out your break even. 12,500 units, 2.25 million. That's 12,500 units, 2.25 million, and you put a plot point there. And once you do that, you just connect those dots. Is that correct? Okay. Now, somebody thought that we do this graph to calculate our break even. No, they got it backwards. We have to calculate our break even first, then we plot that point, and then we do our graph. Does that make sense? Okay, Daniel?
How do you know to plot the sales at 0?
Well, that's a great question. How do you know that sales, because if you sell 0 units, what is your sales dollars? 0, okay? It's truly variable. If you sell 0 units, your sales dollars are 0. So that's why in looking at this graph, I put a plot point right there. And you're right, that is the sales line. This is the dotted line there is the total cost line. What does this vertical distance represent? Loss, and it gets smaller and smaller. There's no distance between those two lines, so that's the break even. And then what does this little vertical distance represent?
Income.
Profit or net income. And that obviously gets larger as you sell more units. Cool? All right, any questions on that, folks? Let's do the next one. Refer to exercise 2110. Prepare a CM income statement for Blanchard Company showing sales, variable costs, and fixed costs at the break-even point. Okay, let's do that first. All right, let's do that first. All right. Okay, let's take a look at it. Now, I like to put my per units over here. I think the book often puts them like over there. I don't know why, I'm a creature of a habit, I guess. I like to put them right here. 180, 135, and this is 45, right? This is our CM per unit, correct? And this is for the total, okay? And sometimes I like to put above the total how many units that is at, okay? That's the way I learned how to do it, okay? Clean up that 8 a little bit. So you figured out it was 12,500 units. We knew these amounts, so we took 12,500 times these 3 amounts to get these three amounts, right? They gave us our fixed costs, and by golly, by gum, net income should be 0 because this is at the break-even point of 12,500 units that you calculated, correct? Okay, so that, again, this should be pretty simple, okay? Now, for you folks that are here face-to-face, at the very beginning of next class, we're going to have a quiz. And if you know how to do exercise 2110, 2111, and 2112, then you should be pretty prepared for that, okay? All right? Now, there's another part of 2112, though, right? And what it says is, if the company's fixed cost increased by $135,000, what amount of sales in dollars is needed to break even? Okay, well, we just figured out a new break even, right? They're asking for break even in sales dollars. So we're going to take fixed costs divided by the contribution margin ratio, which in this case is 25%. Is that correct? 45 divided by 180, 25%. So we just figured out a new break even. We take our original fixed costs of $562,500 plus our additional fixed costs of $135,000, add that up, divide it by 25%, and our new break even is $2.79 million. Okay? Questions on that? All right, good. I think we had one more. Is that correct? And that was problem 21-2B. Problem 21-2B. Is this Hip Hop Company? Okay. All right, let's take a look at it. Okay. Hip Hop Company manufactures and markets several products. Okay. Management's considering the future of one product, electronic keyboards, that has not been as profitable as planned. Since this product is manufactured and marketed independently of the other products, I lost my place. Its total cost can be precisely measured. Next year's plans call for a $350 selling price. The fixed cost for the year expected to be $42,000, up to a maximum capacity of 700 units. Forecasted variable costs are $210 per unit. Okay? Estimate the keyboard's break-even point in terms of sales units and sales dollars. Okay? Well, let's do that. I think that's pretty straightforward, isn't it? Okay? Fixed cost divided by CM per unit, so it's a break-even of 300 units. Of course, we got our contribution margin as such. Our break-even in sales dollars is fixed costs over our CM ratio, which is the CM per unit of 140 divided by the $350 sales price, 40%. So 42,000 divided by 40% equals a break-even in sales dollars of $105,000. And of course, you could take that 300 units times the 350 selling price to verify that number. Is that correct? All right, so that was what it asked for first. The next thing it asks for is a CVP chart. Okay, CVP chart. Well, our break even is 300 units and $105,000, right? So, let's take a look at this chart. Dave Krug 3-plot point method. Put a plot point right there on the corner. Go up the y-axis and plot your fixed costs, which in this case are 42,000. And then you plot your break even, which again is at 300 units and $105,000. And then once you have those three plot points, you draw your lines. Of course, this line is sales. This line is total cost. This vertical distance is net loss. This vertical distance is profit or net income. Okay? All right. And then lastly, it asks us, prepare a CM income statement showing sales, variable costs, and fixed costs for keyboards at the break-even point. Seems like we've done that a lot. I don't know that it needs to be explained too much, except once again, I like to put my per units out here to the side, which is 350, 210, and 140. Cool? Break-even point, obviously. Bottom line should be 0. Okay? All right, folks, any questions on that? Any questions? Was that it for the homework? It didn't take you too long, did it? Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and what I want to do is I want to do exercise 2115 and exercise 2116 in class right now. Okay? So let me put that on here. We're going to spend a little time and we're going to do exercise 2115 and 2116 while they play that music. Okay? So let's go ahead and work on that. One thing I want you to do, though, I should tell you, on 2116, I also want you to compute the break even in units and the break even in sales dollars. So do everything they ask you in these, but also on 2116 compute the break even in units and in sales dollars. And they can start that music. I'll put those problems up on the screen as they play the music in case you don't have your book. All right, so let's work on those. Okay, let's go over those. Folks, if you're not at home or done, just pause this and push start when you're ready. Let's do 2115. Nombre Company Management predicts $390,000 of variable costs, $430,000 of fixed costs, and a pre-tax income of $155,000 in the next period. Okay, let's go ahead and go to our Elmo, and let's write in what we know. Okay, they told us that variable costs are $390,000. They told us that fixed costs are $430,000. Is that correct? And the pre-tax income is $155,000. Am I right so far? Okay. So CM, some number minus that equals that. So what does our CM equal? 585,000. Well, now we can figure out sales, can't we? Okay. Something minus 390 equals 585. So what does that equal?
975.
975?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. Now they also told us that, let's see, the CM is $9 per unit. Is that correct? Okay. CM is $9 per unit. Okay. Well, if they tell us that, can we figure up our other per units? Okay. How do we do that?
We have to take 585 divided by 9.
What's 585,000 divided by 9?
65,000.
65,000? Okay. So let's go ahead and put that up there. So now I know that there were 65,000 units sold. Okay. Well, now I can divide each one of these numbers by 65,000, correct? And what numbers do I get? What's the sales price per unit?
85.
85 exactly? Okay. Is that right?
No, it's 15.
That's 15.
Wow.
15, yeah. Definitely 15.
It's
Oh,
15.
I was looking at the next problem, my bad.
Okay. Okay. 975,000 divided by 65,000 is 15. Okay. 390,000 divided by 65,000 is what?
6.
6. And 15 minus 6, sure enough, equals 9. That minus that equals that. That minus that equals that. We have our nice contribution margin income statement. I don't even know what they were asking us for. Oh, they were asking us for total dollar sales. We computed that. And they were asking us for the total number of units expected to be sold. And we got that by computing all these things, 65,000 units. Correct? Okay? Just start filling in what you know, folks. Okay? All right, next one. Cooper Company expects to sell, I'm going to just fill this one in as we're kind of reading it. Okay? Cooper Company expects to sell 200,000 units of its product. So I'll write that up there. Next year, which would generate total sales of 17 million. Okay. Management predicts that pre-tax net income for next year will be 1.25 million. And the CM per unit will be 25. Is that correct? They want us to compute variable costs and fixed costs. Okay. Well, there's a number of different ways that you could go about solving this. I guess the first thing I would do is take 17 million divided by 200,000 and to get my unit sales price. Did anybody do that?
85.
Is it 85? There's the 85. Okay. Well, 85 minus something is 25. That's 60. Okay. Well, now I can take 60 times 200,000 to get my variable costs of what?
12 million.
Boom. 17 million minus 12 million is 5 million. And I might verify that by taking $25 per unit times 200,000 units. Sure enough, that equals 500,000. I'm sorry, that equals 5 million. Okay. 5 million minus what equals 1.25 million?
375. 0.
Okay. Is that right? Okay? So what are they asking us for? They're asking us for total variable costs is 12 million, fixed costs is 3.75 million, right? Once again, they do this differently. They have all this rigmarole here, and I just think it is much easier to do it this way. Okay? Now, the other thing I want you to do, though, is figure out break even in units and break even in sales dollars. Is that correct? Okay. So remember that our equations for break even in units is fixed costs divided by the CM per unit. So the fixed costs in this case are 3.75 million, and the CM per unit is 25 per unit. Is that correct? So that equals 150,000 units, right? Okay. Now, if you go back to this to figure out the CM ratio, it's kind of a messy number, isn't it? Did anybody compute it? 25 divided by 85 equals, it's like 29.41176% or something like that. Okay, this is a situation where I think it's much easier just to take your break even that you computed in the number of units times the sales price per unit. Make sense? So if you take 150,000 units, what's the sales price per unit? 85. 85? Does that equal, let's see, what is that? How many zeros is that? Boom, boom, boom.
12 million.
Did anybody get close to that? Now, if you rounded that CM ratio, you probably didn't get exactly that. But this is a good time to remember that relationship by taking the number of units times the sales price per unit to get your break even in sales dollars. Cool? Awesome. Any questions? Okay, we are going to lecture over a few last items in this chapter. And I'll give you some homework. So let's kind of wrap things up in regards to chapter 21, okay? All right, first of all, let's take a look at the slides. We have to make some assumptions of CVP analysis, okay? We have to assume that our selling price and our variable costs and fixed costs are constant, at least during this period of when we're computing these things, right? Okay, I think that goes without saying. You also have to assume your variable costs are linear, that they are a straight line, okay? And that they are not like, you know, this, okay? So we have to assume that these items are staying constant. We have to assume that our variable costs are linear. Now, we've either been doing companies that only sell one product, or we've been isolating the analysis to one product. Now, in a multi-product company, you can still do break even, but what you have to do is you have to presume a constant sales mix. That's like the percentage of items that you sell. For example, a bicycle store might sell 75% bicycles, 20% tricycles, 5% unicycles. I think that added up to 100%, okay? That would be an example of the sales mix. And we're also, another assumption in CVP analysis is that the units produced equals the units sold. Thus, the inventories do not change, okay? So kind of be aware of those assumptions that we have to make while we do this, but CVP analysis can be very, very helpful, okay? All right, come off that if you would. Now, we've talked about break-even ratios, right? And, or break-even computations. And I showed you those calculations to do your break-even, right? As you can see on the screen or on the Elmo. All right? Now, what if you're saying, though, well, hey, I don't want to calculate how many units I have to sell to break even to have a net income of 0. I don't want to figure out how many sales dollars I have to break even, have, again, net income of 0. I want to know how many units do I have to sell if I want to make some sort of target net income or some sort of target profit. Okay, well, in that case, what we do is we modify that equation. The break-even formulas can be adjusted to show the sales volume needed to earn a specific amount of income or a target income. And all we do is we just add that to the numerator of the break-even equation. Okay? So you take your fixed costs plus that target net income divided by CM per unit to get the unit sales to achieve that target net income. And you take your fixed costs plus that target net income divided by your CM ratio to get the dollar sales needed for that target income. Okay? Now I want you to see that you could actually use these formulas right here to do break even, couldn't you? Because what is your target income at break even? It's 0, right? So if that item in red becomes 0, doesn't that equation just become the ones we're used to right here? Okay? So if you want to memorize a minimal number of ratios, if you understand things, you could just use this for your break even. Okay? Do a quick example. ABC Company sells product XYZ at $5 per unit. If fixed costs are $200,000 and variable costs are $3 per unit, how many units must be sold to earn income of $40,000? Well, the answer is B. First of all, we have to figure out our CM per unit, which is the 5 minus the C, or 5 minus the 3, excuse me. So then we take our fixed cost of $200,000 plus that target net income of $40,000 and divide it by $2 per unit. Thus, if we sell 120,000 units at these conditions, what will our bottom line be? 40,000, correct? Now, one thing you got to make sure of is that you do your order of operations correct. If you punch this into your calculator as 200,000 plus 40,000 divided by 2, it's probably going to give you an error because it's going to think you just want to divide the 40,000 by 2 perhaps. So you have to do order of operations here. First of all, add the 200,000 plus the 40,000 to get 240,000 and then divide it by 2. You with me? Okay. Let's talk about margin of safety. Margin of safety is the amount that we are above our break-even level. Okay? I put some pictures of some cushions because it's kind of our cushion amount. Margin of safety is the amount by which sales can decline before reaching that break-even sales. Now we can express it as a dollar amount or we can express it as a percentage of expected sales. Now to get margin of safety in dollars, what we do is we simply take our expected or current sales minus our break-even sales. Okay? We're going to find out that that's not very useful of a number. Now, if you want to do it margin of safety as a percentage, that's going to be a lot more helpful than margin of safety in dollars. Then what we take is we take that margin of safety in dollars divided by our expected or current sales. Okay? Let's do an example, and I think this will flesh itself out. If Rydell sales are 100,000 and break-even sales are 80,000, what is the margin of safety in dollars and as a percentage? Well, the margin of safety in dollars is just the expected or current sales of 100,000 minus the break-even sales of 80,000. It's $20,000. Okay? Make sense? Now, I want you to understand why this isn't that helpful of a number. Let's say I just told you that for a company, their margin of safety in dollars was $20,000. That was all you knew, is I told you the margin of safety in dollars for a company is $20,000. Come off that if you would, please. Understand that that in itself is not very helpful. A company's margin of safety is $20,000. Well, Luke, if it's your landscaping business and you make about $80,000 a year, that's a pretty good cushion. What that's saying is, for your landscaping business, sales could decline by $20,000 before you start to lose money. And since you're making $80,000, that's a pretty good cushion, isn't it? But what if I told you that PepsiCo International's margin of safety is $20,000? Do you see how that is half a whisker above break even? Because they have billions of dollars, correct? Sales dollars. So if their sales only have to decline by 20,000 before they start to lose money. So you see what I mean as far as just stating it in dollars is not real helpful. What is more helpful, taking a look back at the screen, is to state margin of safety as a percentage. Okay? There what you do is you take that margin of safety of dollars of 20,000 or 100 minus 80 divided by the expected or current sales, and there you get a margin of safety as a percentage of 20%. So that's pretty healthy. That means your sales could decline by 20% before you start to lose money. Make sense? So that's a good number to know. How much cushion do we have? Another thing that we will take a look at is sensitivity analysis. And what we do here is we just change some factors in the CVP relationship and see what happens, okay? Just see what happens. For example, this is a real simple example, but let's say we're considering buying a new machine that would increase monthly fixed costs from 24 to 30,000, but decrease unit variable costs from 70 to 60. The $100 per unit selling price remains unchanged. What is the new break-even point in dollars? What is the new break-even point in dollars? Well, just recalculate your break-even. Okay? What's our revised fixed costs? They're now 30,000. What is our new CM per unit is 100 minus 60, right? Which would be a CM of 40. So our CM ratio would be 40 divided by 100 equals 40%. Our new revised break-even in dollars is 30,000 divided by 40%, and that equals $75,000. With me? Okay. Now I give you some really good homework ones that are a little bit more in-depth sensitivity analysis. And really do your best to work on those. Don't just give up on them, okay? These will really help develop your critical analysis skills, okay? The last thing I want to talk about real quick is operating leverage. Operating leverage. This is the measure to the extent by which fixed costs are being used in an organization. And this is how a percentage change in sales will affect your profits, okay? So degree of operating leverage. It's going to be best illustrated with an example, like many things. We compute degree of operating leverage by taking our contribution margin at a certain point divided by our net income at a certain point or at a certain activity level. Okay? For example, Rydell Company, this is their current situation. Okay? You can read all that there. To calculate their degree of operating leverage, we're going to take their contribution margin of 48,000 divided by their net income of 24,000. So we get a degree of operating leverage of 2.0. Well, great. What does that mean? That means this. We can answer questions like this. If Rydell increases sales by 10%, what percentage increase will occur in net income? If the degree of operating leverage is 2.0 and there's a 10% increase in sales, then our net income will actually increase by 20%. By 20%. Okay? 10% increase in sales will be a 20% increase in net income with an operating leverage amount, degree of operating leverage of 2. Now come off that real quickly. Make sure you understand what I'm not saying. I'm not saying an increase in sales of $10,000 would result in a $20,000 increase in net income. That's impossible, okay? What I am saying, going back to the screen, is that if we increase our sales by 10%, then our net income will increase by 20%, okay? If I had a little bit more time, I would verify that. But try verifying this between now and next period, and I'll verify it next period, remind me, okay? All right, that is the end of chapter 21. So let me write down your homework and then send you on your way, okay? Oh, I got some handouts for you. And you folks here, we'll stop the cameras and then I'll hand these out to you, okay? All right, I want you to do 2 handouts and a quick study, okay? I want you to do the target profit handout, okay? And I want you to do the Hudson Company handout. You folks should have these in your handouts, you online students. And then I also want you to do quick study 2111. You with me? Target profit handout, Hudson Company handout. This is challenging. Don't just give up on that. Work on that. And quick study 2111. And also remember that there is that quiz at the beginning of next period. Okay? Any questions? See you guys later. Bye-bye.